Supervisor Wright.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Item 7, resolution regarding special election for Old Town Hall referendum. In your materials, you have a resolution titled Special Town Election Establishing Date and Hours, Terms of Proposition to be Voted Upon, and Authorizing Printing and Posting of Notice of Special Town Election. Councilman Yee, would you like to read that?
Special election establishing the date and hours of terms of a proposition to be voted upon and authorizing printing posting of notice of special town election. Be it resolved that a special town election be held on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2010, and in conjunction with a general election date of that date, that polls to be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and polling places to be located at the following locations: Brewster Village Court, 50 Main Street, Brewster, New York; Brewster High School, 50 Foggingtown Road, Brewster, New York; Southeast Town Court, 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York. And be it further resolved that pursuant to the bond resolution adopted by this board on August 26, 2010, which continually approved subject to town electoral approval at referendum A, the financing of the resolution of and renovations to the Old Town Hall located at 67 Main Street, Brewster, New York, at an estimated maximum cost of $3,836,000. B, the financing thereof by the insurance and sale of bonds and notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of said bonds in an amount up to $3,836,000. C, an annual appropriation in an amount required to pay debt service on such obligations. And D, the levy of real property tax sufficient to pay such debt service, that the following proposition be voted upon at such special election. Quote, shall the town board of the town of Southeast, the county of Putnam, state of New York, be authorized to renovate the Old Town Hall, 67 Main Street, Brewster, New York, at an estimated cost of $3,836,000, including preliminary costs and costs incidental thereof, to levy a tax to be collected in annual installments therefore, including the interest due on any town obligations, and issue town obligations in anticipation thereof. And be it further resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is given authority to have printed and published and posted at least 10 days prior to November 2nd, 2010, notice of such special town election to be held November 2nd, 2010, and is subsequently the form of notice set forth below. And in front of me I have a form of the notice. Would it be necessary to read all of this?
Will, do we need to read that form of notice?
I don't think it's necessary. It's already been published in this. Okay, so I could just read a portion of it then. It says, please take notice that the town board of the town Southeast in the county of Putnam, the state of New York, has called a special town election to be held concurrently with the general election on November 2nd, 2010, to vote on the proposition described below. Voting on November 2nd, 2010 will be held from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the general polling places within the town listed below. And those are the listings I mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Councilman. I second. Roll call vote, please, Ruth.
Councilman Cullen?
Yes.
I'll switch the names because they're wrong. Councilman Yee? Councilman Yee?
I think you missed the order here. Wasn't it Councilman Cullen and Hudak and then Yee?
Oh, okay. Councilwoman Hudak?
Yes.
Councilman Yee?
Yes.
Councilman Gross?
Yes.
Supervisor Wright?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. the Town Attorney, if we could just make corrections on that third page, please?
Yeah, I'll make the correction.
And the unanimous vote does not obligate the town this evening. I want folks to understand. It authorizes placing this matter on the ballot on Election Day, November 2nd, so that the community can decide whether or not this is an appropriate and wise investment in the Village of Brewster to rehabilitate Old Town Hall or not.
And just a reminder that 67 Main Street is town property. That's the reason why it's going out for a vote then.
Item 8, wetlands permit for Tyburn. you have in your materials a resolution titled Tyburn Development Wetlands Permit dated September 23. Would someone like, I can read that. Whereas the Town of Southeast Wetlands Inspector issued a report and recommendation dated July 9, 2010, in connection with submission and development plan of Tyburn Development, also called Lyons Properties, owner of premises located at 20 Welfare Road, tax map number 36, block 1, lot 44.1, parens, the subject premises, end parens. And whereas the town board finds that there is sufficient reason in the record to support the grant of a wetlands permit in connection with said application, now therefore be it resolved that after reviewing the maps, plans, and submissions of the applicant, together with the report and recommendation of the wetlands inspector, Stephen W. Coleman, Environmental Consulting, dated July 9, 2010, as transmitted by the planning board to the town board, and which is incorporated herein by reference, the town board of the town of Southeast hereby grants a permit to allow portions of the proposed activity to occur within the wetland and/or wetland buffer area as appropriate, as shown on the proposed development plan on file with the planning board. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Ruth.
Councilman Cullen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hudak?
Yes.
Councilman Yee?
Yes.
Councilman Gross?
Yes.
Supervisor Rice?
Yes,
Passed
motion
5-0.
carries unanimously. With respect to item 9, we have a request regarding the New York State Comptroller's audit of the courts. We have a request by the town council to defer the adopting resolution or ratification of the resolution on that issue.
If you'd like, I'd explain.
Sure.
There was a letter that we received from the from the Unified Court System, which requests the town board to, by resolution, acknowledge receipt of a audit of the town court's financial records pursuant to a section of the Uniform Justice Court Act. The section of the Uniform Justice Court Act requires that on an annual basis, the justices of the town submit their records to an auditing board or to a certified public accountant or public accountant chosen by the town board. And that entity or individual would then audit those records and make a report to the town board, which the town board would then adopt. The confusion has come up because this year we did have an administrative audit of our justice courts by the Office of Court Administration. And I believe there was, because that audit came in at about the same time as this letter directing us to pass a resolution concerning the financial audit, came at the same time, there was some confusion that there was something that we needed to do with regard to the Office of Court Administration's audit, which is not necessary. They do it, and the justices are then supposed to respond to their audit. So I spoke to the town accountant today, and he said that this has been discussed with him. He is aware of the need for an annual internal audit, if you will, of the justice court's records, and it was his understanding that it was something that he was going to be able to do in-house, but it was going to be done going forward, i.e. at the end of this year, fiscal year 2010, when the courts closed their books, then they would turn them over to Mr. Hund. Mr. Hund would then conduct an audit using the controller's guidelines and then submit a report to the town board, which we could then accept by resolution.
So what's your recommendation?
That we defer this item until such time as we have that report from Ron Hund on the financial audit.
And that complies with all applicable laws such as we...
It would going forward, but I mean,
Subject.
this is something that really should have been done annually. This provision of law has been in effect for many years. It's just something that apparently we have not done in practice. And it was something that was brought up, I believe, by the administrative audit.
I'm comfortable deferring it.
Okay.
We do it in-house, it'll be at no additional cost.
I think that was the hope.
Yeah.
Is that your motion, Mike?
there is no motion. We're merely deferring this matter to a future date.
So we're going to table this to the next voting meeting.
Liz, can you make a
Yeah, it'll be the end of the year.
Yeah, I think what we need apparently is a motion to defer this resolution.
There's no resolution, there was nothing prepared.
Okay, well, motion to defer compliance with this provision.
Well, that's gratuitous. We just decided to defer the matter.
Yeah, we did, but we need.
Item 10.
We need a motion to defer it.
And I need a
We
second.
don't need a motion.
Council just told us we don't.
We don't need a motion to
You don't
defer.
think so?
Don't need a motion
No
to defer
resolution.
this?
No, we can just defer it. Thank you.
Should have been on the account.
Yeah. As I said, item 10, resolution regarding adjusted base proportions. Would someone like to read this resolution?
I'll read that one.
Go ahead.
Whereas the town board of the town of Southeast desires to maintain fairness in the taxable valuation of tax parcels within the town, and whereas it is the board's understanding that using the calculations of RP-6703 for adjustment of base proportions will best serve the needs of the town and most equitable for taxpayers, and whereas the town assessor has recommended that the town accept the adjusted base proportions as submitted as town outside village homestead at 65.302994%, the townwide homestead portion as 65.347525%. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast accepts the recommendations of the town assessor and hereby authorizes the town clerk to sign and provide the Office of Real Property Services Form RP-6703 for the town-wide and town outside village containing the base proportion of 65-302.994% and 65.347525% respectively, pursuant to the real property tax law and the New York State rules and regulations in form and substance as may be approved by the town attorney.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Hudak seconds. Roll call vote, please, Ruth.
Councilman Cullen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hudak.
Yes.
Councilman Yee.
Yes.
Councilman Gross.
Yes.
Supervisor Wrights.
Yes, motion
5 to
carries
0.
unanimously. Item 11, request New York State Department of Transportation to establish a no parking zone on the New York State border on Route 6 between the states of New York and Connecticut.
Is this a request from our highway department?
This is a request from the supervisor's office because right now large trucks, oversized trucks, are parking along Route 6 headed into Connecticut, but they're in Southeast, and they wait for a lengthy periods of time, frequently after dark. It's hard to see, and I've had repeated complaints, and I've noted myself driving using Route 6 that it creates a hazardous condition. Sometimes these oversized loads crowd the travel lane. Sometimes they're over the line and into the travel lane. So it seems to Kevin and me and others, it's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, so I'll read the resolution then.
Yeah, I just want to, what the problem is there's modular homes that are coming from a factory in Pennsylvania. And I believe on Fridays, they're not allowed to enter Connecticut on a Friday because of the weekend, because they need to have a escort vehicle. So what happens is if they get to there on a Friday, they just decide to leave it there all weekend. And as the supervisor says, it is a dangerous situation. They stick out, there's no lighting there. And we actually, I guess the highway department did put no parking signs there to try to discourage it. But we just want to, legalize the no parking stands so that enforcement actions could be taken.
Bob, would you read the resolution, please?
Want me to read it? Yeah. Whereas New York State Route 6 extends within the jurisdictional limits of the town of Southeast from Carmel Town Line at its most westerly point to the Connecticut State Line at its most easternly point, and whereas the portion of New York State Route 6 that meets the Connecticut State Line has become a parking standing area for commercial vehicles, especially those carrying or hauling oversized cargo trailers and attachments, and whereas parking of commercial vehicles and trailers along the shoulder and upon the roadway of this portion of Route 6 presents a potential traffic hazard to motorists traveling within the town of Southeast,